Hey guys, LMNTRIX here. Hope you're all doing well and welcome back to the channel. Today I thought I would provide you guys with my top 5 tips for improving your aim and landing more headshots in Black Squad. Now these top 5 tips have worked really well for me, so they might be a little bit different for you. However, if you have any additional tips that you would like to add, then you can go and do so in the comments below. And if you're new to the channel and you really like this content, then why not consider subscribing? Now, just to provide you guys with a little bit of information, I have a KD of 2.1 with a headshot percentage of about 29% and a win ratio of 60%. So I'm definitely not one of the best players, but my aim has greatly improved after implementing these 5 tips that I'm about to share with you guys. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Alright guys, so tip number 1 is getting your sensitivity straight. So that means that making sure that you're comfortable with the sense that you're playing. And what I do not like to see is when people actually go and comment on different YouTubers videos and say, hey, what's your sensitivity? I want to give that a try. It's going to be very different from person to person. However, generally speaking, what I've learned is that playing with a bit of a lower sensitivity is overall better, simply because when the target is moving, you're not going to be moving too much back and forth. Now, I have 2 setups here. The SR47 has a very high sensitivity and the Type 95 has a very low one. So the Type 95 is a sensitivity that I prefer to play with. It's 400 DPI with a sensitivity of 6.6. So that means if the target is moving, I can always keep my crosshair on the head, basically. So here it's a bit easier because they're all standing still, but essentially what I'm trying to say is if the target is moving and you need to move left and right, with a lower sense, you're just going to move slight steps. If you have a very high sense, what that's going to do is it's going to move all over the place. Like, this is ridiculous. I'm literally like stuttering around their head. So now, it might be a bit of an exaggeration, but I do see people playing with a real high sensitivity, and I would just give the advice to say, you know, try and lower it step by step. Every single game, try and lower it a bit more until you start to notice that you're landing more headshots. You're gonna notice a big improvement by playing with a little bit of a lower sensitivity than you're accustomed to, simply because you're not gonna be strafing too much back and forth in the head trying to hit that headshot. Now, another part of this tip is to actually go to your zoom 1. So if we look at preset number 2, go to your zoom 1 and also lower that one a bit. So whilst you're lowering your master sensitivity, you're also going to lower your zoom 1. I have it to about 3.8. Again, this is different from person to person, but what that's going to allow you to do is when you're aiming in, you're going to basically have more control over where you're aiming rather than having a high sensitivity. So it allows you to go for more accurate, consistent shots. So I would definitely recommend you trying to play with that and try and give it a go. Try and play with a little bit of a lower sensitivity. Now, it's going to be different again from person to person, but overall speaking, if you look at a lot of the pro players across different FPS games, most of them play with a little bit of a lower sense, simply because they can track the head a lot easier. Unless you're one of those players that is really consistently getting headshots with a very high sensitivity, I would honestly recommend that you guys turn that down. Now, tip number 2 is all about making sure that you have the right weapon and that you're comfortable in playing with that weapon. So that means that you shouldn't be switching from 3 or 4 different guns back and forth all the time, because you're never really going to master one specific gun. And you should really tend to focus on the guns that do one shot to the head. And those are going to be like, for example, the Type 95, the AK-12, the SR47, the CIS-RUS, and plenty more like the Zukov. So you should go ahead and make sure that you find out and that you know which weapons are one tap. In that case, then instead of switching from weapon to weapon all the time and trying to play with all different kind of guns, is to try and master one specific gun. And basically here, I have the Type 95. This is my favorite gun in the game, and I've been using it for the past like 6 months, basically since I started playing Black Squad. So what I've been able to do now is I've been able to understand how this gun works, and I've been able to, I wouldn't say completely master it, but I would say basically understand in a pretty advanced way how this gun works, and it really pays off. All right, now tip number 3 is all about strafing. And what does strafing mean? It basically just means spamming your A and D key back and forth, like this. So you're slowly peeking the corner and you see the enemies back and forth. So you see them and you come back into cover. So then when you re-peek, you know where they are. And it basically allows you to get a peeker's advantage and allows you to surprise the enemy and basically get the advantage on them in that way. So I'm peeking this corner, I see him, and then when I go back, I can just pre-fire that corner. And it's super effective. And if you look at a lot of competitive players, and if you look at a lot of different FPS games in a competitive scene, you're going to see that a lot of players use this technique. And it's very, very popular to use. So I would highly recommend that you guys try and master it or try and implement it into some of your gameplay. Rather than running this corner blindly and then, you know, you have 4 enemies in front of you, okay? Try and get some intel, try and strafe back and forth. And once you see the enemy, then line up your shot and then shoot, all right? Now, tip number 4 is crosshair placement. And that basically means that you should not have your crosshair on the ground, nor should it be in the sky. It should be exactly where you want it to be, and that is right at head level. If you want to get more one-taps, if you want to land more headshots, you need to aim for the head. Otherwise, again, by the time you're aiming on the ground and you see the enemy and you're going to correct that, you're going to be dead. So make sure that it doesn't matter if you're strafing or if you're running across the corner and you're about to peek, make sure that you're always aiming for the head, okay, at all times. You're going to see a great improvement if you're thinking about this while you're playing and it's just saying, okay, aim for the head, aim for the head, aim for the head. And I'm going to show you now how it basically works. When you're coming around the corner, you're going to aim for that head. And my crosshair is already at that right level. So you see, I don't even need to do anything. Well, there it was a bit off. But you get the point. It's still headshot level, even though you're not on his head. Because the correction that you're going to need to do is this tiny little step is... it's a lot less time consuming than if you're aiming here or if you're aiming up there and you need to drag it all the way down or all the way up. So try it out. Come here and just aim for the head. Now the final tip that I have for you guys, so tip number 5 is all about controlling your aim. Now when you're peeking a corner and you have the peeker's advantage or you're about to land your headshot, it's not going to look like this. All right? Don't spray, don't uncontrollably spray. Make sure that you're learning to one-tap or burst tap. So what that means is that one-tap, or you can either burst tap. So now all of those were one-taps, but if I would have missed the first shot, so if I'm missing the first shot, then the next bullets after that can land a headshot. And it basically allows you to control your aim a lot more and basically get a more consistency when landing headshots.